Hello, and welcome to our May webinar on AI impact transforming agencies in the digital age. If you're new to our webinars, my name is Lexi, and I'm going to be the eyes and ears behind this webinar, running the tech support, helping throw some links in chat, and things like that. Of course, we are going to record this webinar, but I am going to give you my rookie mistake here that I did forget to click record at the beginning of the webinar. So I am just post-recording a little bit of a blurb. You didn't miss any content, but I wanted to make sure you knew how we're joining and things like that. So just briefly, what's going on during this webinar? The webinar is going to consist of Andrew Gillians, who is our host, going through welcome and introductions, which is where the recording will start off. He then briefly talked about the current WP Engine AI landscape. We then move into a panel discussion where we ask panelists a number of questions on how they're using AI, both in their jobs professionally and at their jobs as agency owners and agency workers. We then move to Kellen Mace, who does an AI-powered hybrid search for WordPress demo. This is one of our products that we offer at WP Engine. And then we conclude the webinar with the audience question and answer. Now, what you missed during my mishap where I didn't get recording is Andrew Gillians, our Director of Technical Solutions, introduced himself and talked a little bit about why AI at WP Engine. As you know, we are a WordPress hosting company. We are not an AI company, and that is why we chose to bring together a panel of experts to talk about AI, both in the agency world and in our own personal development. From there, we had the panel introduce themselves, and this is where I'm going to put you back in the recording. We've got Andrew, who will be the host and asking the questions, and then Ina and Daniel, who have the opportunity to introduce themselves. I hope you enjoy the webinar, and sorry for the mishap.
So my background with AI comes from having a particular need to solve, and it involved image generation. So that's the angle that I'm coming from here with Stable Diffusion in particular. And in terms of my personal use as a developer, I found AI with Copilot, and not Copilot the particular program, but co-piloting your development with an LLM has been surprisingly helpful and interesting, in the sense that you suddenly have a partner who has essentially all the knowledge of Stack Overflow inside of its brain. And that has changed the way we approach development. So I'm really excited to talk about AI because I feel like it is a huge part of how we have to proceed as creators now.
Thank you, Daniel. Absolutely. We must embrace, right? It's here to stay. So I'm really happy to have you here, Daniel. So thank you for joining us. And I don't know about you two, but I'm really jazzed about AI because it's genuinely fun and exciting. It feels like every day there's just this new exciting use case that blows me away. So my first question for you is really kind of what gets you excited? What are emerging AI technologies that you're most excited about? And how do you plan to incorporate them into your services? We'll start with you.
And this is a good one because I think this is where Daniel and I have quite a lot of overlap in discussion too. So really it's coming down to creative generation and ideation has been a huge consideration. So like for context, most of the major publishers like Google Ads, Meta, and various others are really pushing more visual formats. With Meta, it's always been predominantly visual, right? You can live and die by the creative that you put out there, regardless of how good, your audience targeting is. It's what's the creative strategy? What's the message? Is it the right message aligning with the right audience? And so, just last week during Google Marketing Live, they pushed out announcements around having more AI generated content. On the media side, we've largely have already been working with AI and large language models for creative, but it clearly is a much larger focus these days for Google and other platforms too. So, from my perspective, because of that push, like we've always had clients who had gaps with, their creative abilities, like whether they had it in-house, had other agencies. Creative development is a heavy undertaking. I'm sure Daniel would agree with me on that one. And so, often enough, there's not enough resources on the client side or not enough, dollars to be able to, push out as much creative as needed with, as many different audiences as you're trying to target with different messaging. So for me, that's something that's huge. And I think it's going to create for many of our clients, means to perform and be in placements that they typically couldn't be in because of those creative limitations. With that being said, you know, there's so much nuance and there's so many gray areas with what that creation looks like. And I mean, so many things like branding guidelines and brand safety, like, are a big conversation, but I think it'll allow a lot more clients to be in places where they typically couldn't be before because of those limitations.
Thank you. Yeah, it is exciting to see these barriers being broken down by AI. So Daniel, what excites you?
Yeah, so I think as an independent developer for the first time, and I have some creative background in that my background's in publishing and design, but I would prefer to turn to an expert when we're working on a client's projects, like an actual visual designer who's had a career in the thing. But as an independent developer for the first time, some of the tools that can generate some of the outcomes that only experts could do are in my hands. And so some of the things I'm excited about are on the video side of image generation. A couple of hosted platforms that are out right now can generate stuff that is comparable to studio quality video. So like Runway ML is one example, Pika Labs. But what's the most shocking and most exciting platform that hasn't been released yet but been advertised is called Sora. And the video that they're generating as this text video looks like Hollywood quality stuff. So to have that at your disposal, when you're creating products, whether that's, an introductory video or whether that's something that's incorporated, into a larger creative product, like I've never seen that kind of power at your fingertips before. So, on the local side, Stable Diffusion also has a version of that called Stable Diffusion Video. And all of this is happening suddenly all at once. So we literally don't have enough time to explore all of these tools. But I think we have to race to incorporate them because, they have the potential to either be industry destroying or industry transforming. And I would hope that we can do the latter.
For sure. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, definitely exciting and overwhelming at the same time, for sure. And I actually have a follow-up question for you, just in the realm of digital advertising. Can AI be used as a game changer in marketing in terms of gaining a competitive advantage? And if so, how?
Overwhelmingly, very aggressively, yes. So I think one of the things that I noted is that, again, with some of these tools that are available for us to use, we can now much more easily take very large data sets and, uncover insights in ways that, would be far too time consuming to do, right? Like, I mean, there's manpower and then there's also, the ability to streamline some of those operations. So what we've been finding is for our clients, like leveraging AI has resulted in looking at larger data sets, sometimes using, more conversational models. So for example, instead of, kind of going through data, having an idea of what you're looking for, you can just, ask the question and it reduces, some of those mistakes that could happen if you're looking at large data sets, or it might even help us identify data points that we might not have even been looking at because they were so buried. So really it's like the ability to look at these trends in a much faster and conversational way has been quite helpful. But, competitively too, like, I'm on the media side, but on the SEO side, it's also streamlined quite a lot of operations of building out personas of, building out larger keyword lists, as well as, creating ways to reduce some of those, the time and some of those heavier lifts by creating more space for us to focus on strategy, on the client relationship, and really like focusing in on what the client's larger business goals are. So that's been a pretty big thing. And I think that's where that competitive advantage does come in.
Awesome. Thank you for the insights. And I have to agree, the conversational nature of AI tools has been my favorite thing as well. It makes it much easier to use for sure. So I think the two of you know this. I believe I told you this, but for everyone else here, I was actually an agency partner of WP Engine for a long time before I joined the team here. And I actually think some of my old colleagues are out in the audience there somewhere. But if I can try to read their minds and put my agency hat back on, I start to think about how AI can be used to increase my margins and have a positive impact on my bottom line. So I'd love to dig into that. Daniel, we'll go to you first. Do you have a practical example of a problem solved by AI at your agency and how it had a direct impact on your bottom line?
Yeah, so we were working on a product for a tabletop role-playing game called OSR Plus, and that kind of product requires a physical book and a website, and in our case, a character builder. So it requires a lot of visual design and art. And as an indie, project, it's not like we had an enormous budget to hire a bunch of designers to produce the hundreds and potentially thousands of pieces of art that we would need for this project. And so this was about a year ago when we were nearing completion of it as a product. And we had a vision for the design because in our team, there's only a few people and one of them was a designer. But we didn't have the manpower. So at the time, a year ago, Midjourney, which is a hosted image generation platform, was just producing these very blurry, dreamlike images. And there were other, hosted platforms like DALL-E, and we started toying with those, but then Stable Diffusion really came into the forefront. And this is a way to generate images locally on your own machine. And so I worked with the visual designer and we constructed a consistent prompt, as well as, selected a certain set of artist tokens, both dead and alive, to construct our style that we were envisioning. And then we got into fine tuning the base model to create what are called LoRAs. And these are kind of like encompassing concepts that you can add on to the base model, so that we essentially had our own kind of proprietary visual look that could be generated from. And so, in a matter of days after consolidating that, we could generate like 18,000 images, unique portraits for this builder. And then in a matter of weeks after that, hundreds of images that could be used to populate the draft and then the rest of the website. And that would just be impossible, like in terms of manpower and the length of time that we did it. And other than the cost of labor, it's not like there's licensing fees or costs to use the software because it's a locally installed, installation for it. And I think if we can get tools like that in the hands of agencies or independent designers, then we're able to speed up a lot of the grunt work that we deal with, on the production side. And, as pointing to like the idea of mass ideation, instead of having one designer have to generate 4 comps, and that's really what we spend 20 hours on, we could spit out 500 comps. And then from those, because they're probably all going to be horrible, 2 or 3 might inspire ideas of how we would develop from there. So Stable Diffusion is an example where we're not beholden to a third party. We're hosted. We can install it locally. We can put it in the hands of all of our team. So like in our case, working on this particular product, the designer, myself, the production person, the video person, we all have it installed on our machines. So if we need to, for example, create promotional imagery for, say, a video that we're putting out to advertise it, any of us can generate that because we understand how to produce the art from our generation tool, using our model that has our branding literally built into it.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. And before we go to you, a quick follow-up for you, Daniel. That's a great use case. And beyond the generation, how is AI being used to assist you in content management and optimization?
So I don't necessarily use AI as much in, like my hosted content management tools because I'm a really small, 1 or 2 person, company. But on the development side, I would say LLMs are where it's extremely useful because I could, for example, especially now that a lot of the LLMs are directly connected to the internet, can return results in real time. So, if I have a problem and I don't necessarily have a network of developers to talk to or other coworkers, I can actually deliberate with the LLM to come to at least pointers, the direction I should look into in solving the problem. Whereas before, the average thing a developer does is Google to find their answers. So now, it's a combination of Googling and also consulting your local LLM. And yes, it will generate wrong answers a lot of the times, and it will lie to you, but that's part of the job of understanding when it's lying to you and sorting that out. It's a way of co-collaborating with it. So I don't think I have as huge a need on the project management side to incorporate AI, but I would absolutely do that as those platforms become more affordable. Because I could see, for example, I use Asana in particular. I could see, for example, Asana incorporating AI, and now I can search across the platform and say, well, when does this one project due? What's the deadline for this? And it should be able to surface that information instantly, which would save me time.
Excellent, Daniel. Yeah, great use case and great thinking there. So, I'll pass it back to you for the same exact question. Do you have a practical example of how AI is being used at your agency to directly impact your bottom line?
Oh, so many, and it's probably been one of my favorite things. So, I mean, there's a number of scenarios that I guess we wouldn't call as like sexy as using AI for, like content generation or things, but very practical use cases, I would say, have been quite helpful. So we use a number of tools like Fathom Video, even Zoom's own, recording and summaries are very, very helpful. And it puts us in a position where, there are always these tasks that require quite a bit of time, right? Like whether it's note taking or, summarizing findings from a meeting, or like, let's say you have a meeting recorded and like you want to go back and, people weren't on that meeting and find out what happened. With tools like Fathom and mixed with Claude and Chat GPT, you can take that transcript and then just like make it into a conversation. And that saves so much time with, that could be better spent, doing something else, like, working on the work that we need to be working on, or really just having, more conversations with our clients about, how we want to evolve their business goals or strategy. So that's been a pretty big one. So like, I would say like, if I were to do a laundry list, like task creation for meeting transcripts, like asking, questions and getting more insight from the meetings that you had with Claude and Chat GPT, report insights and data analysis. And that's like, regardless of whether it's digital media, to like Daniel's point. Yeah, sometimes the answers are not great. That's where you still need that human element to be able to review and say, okay, like this is not accurate. This is not working, but like we also use it for data organization, where, like we have a lot of thoughts put together and, we want to tell a better narrative of what we have together, whether it's recommendations, whether it's, next steps, and be able to put that out much more quickly and in a much more organized manner. So we never really use it to replace the, creativity or the ideation, but they're very good for, thought starters, for organizing your thoughts and, doing some of that data analysis that would typically be quite time consuming, streamline that end of it.
Great, thank you. And yeah, it's really cool to see AI in action and in streamlining operations. And I would argue that high profit margins are pretty sexy. So I think that's a great example. We're in this Wild West phase right now of AI where it often feels like the possibilities are limitless and there really are no limitations. But that is not a realistic expectation to set for your clients. So the question I have for both of you is, how do you manage those client expectations regarding both the benefits and limitations of AI? And we'll go back to you first.
Super fun. So yeah, so I think this has been like the narrative we've all been talking about like during this webinar too. Like a key thing to remember about AI, for paid media and I think many other places is that, AI, LMM is already deeply embedded in the ad tech stacks of like all of the major programs that we work with and has been for several years, right? So like whether it's algorithmic bidding or, early in the last like 2 years, AI aided ad creation and things like that, it's already been there. And, looking ahead, we can expect AI to just have an even larger impact as the technology advances. So like, for example, areas like automated media buying, personalized video ads, predictive budget allocations will likely see AI integration. But the key thing when we have these conversations with our clients is, we have to use AI ethically to enhance human expertise, not replace it. Overall, AI should improve our ad results. It should free up strategists' time and provide insights that humans could miss. But, with any AI tool, we have to manage the expectation that we, like with anything else we do, whether we're, testing creative or, we're launching on a new platform, we have to validate its effectiveness at each step. And we work with a lot of different verticals and industries. And I would say in one place that there might be a bit of a gap or a delay in integrating AI, especially from a creative perspective, is going to be heavily regulated industries like, healthcare, financial services, anything of that sort, where brand safety, brand guidelines are huge, right? Like everything is has to go through numerous approval processes, and the big risk of, using AI is that, the ads will not appear that you want them the way that you want them to. And that could lead to, legal consequences for the client, or, just internal conversations with clients around how they want to make sure that their brand guidelines are enforced. So there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of conversation about that. But something to always keep in mind, especially with leveraging AI, like with AI or any other tool, if the data is good going in, you're probably going to have a good output. The data is bad, that can lead to some really bad marketing decisions. And that's something that we want to avoid. So we always look at this as, how can we have this menu automation approach, right? You can automate a lot of things, you can use AI, but still have that human element to, prevent issues like that. So no, I don't think AI can replace us, but something to keep in mind when we're talking to, our clients and having those larger conversations about the impacts of AI.
Great insights, and that's a relief that we're not being replaced just yet, at least.
We're good for now.
Daniel, I'll ask you the same question. How are you managing your clients' expectations?
I think the biggest issue we're going to have with client expectations when it comes to the application of AI, specifically on the production side, is expectations of cost and speed. Because, I don't think it's viable going forward to budget $20,000 for 2 comps when, although the source of those comps may not be great, they can be generated in seconds. And this is going to become more prevalent as these tools get into the hands of on the client side. So I think what we have to do is position ourselves as a sort of oversight. This is what, was speaking to, that we have to guide them through the use of these tools and provide our expertise as far as, understanding their branding and generating outputs that match, the intention of their brand and what they need to accomplish from a business perspective. But the expectations of costs are going to shift. And I think that's going to dramatically change how we budget and how we compete, because if we're not utilizing these tools, there's going to be smaller organizations that are leaner, that are willing to use these tools and be able to produce outputs faster and to a larger extent. The other issue is, rights. And I think a lot of agencies are, and their clients are averse to unknowns when it comes to rights, especially IP as it pertains to art. And we found that the Copyright Office in particular has already ruled that generations don't have a copyright, and they can't be copywritten unless there's substantial human input involved. So meaning you substantially altered the outputs coming out of the image generation. So that means we have to be aware that we have to add value as an agency to that output in order for it to be something that can even be sold or licensed and used by the client. So I think the expectation from the client will be that we're educated about how these tools could be used, and we can't just dismiss them because our competitors will use them. And they're already becoming deeply integrated in the tools we use every day, like the Adobe suite. Every one of them is suddenly incorporated image generation in the software itself. So there's questions, of ethics and of rights that we have to sort through, and then we have to also reconsider the costs involved in our offerings, because AI will become an expectation. It's just a matter of time. Like, I think we're in the honeymoon phase where a lot of things are happening and everyone's in an arms race to build these tools, but that will settle down eventually, and it'll be everywhere.
Great insights, Daniel. And yeah, that's such a good point. It's so important for you to be that trusted advisor for your clients and maintain that open communication and realistic expectations. So I suspect, and it sounds like, ears really perk up when you talk to clients about AI, and maybe they tend to be more engaged in these types of conversations. So, Ina, a question for you is, in what ways has AI helped maintain or even increase client engagement?
Mhm. Yeah, and it's keeping that open conversation. So like for us, it's important to be proactive, and also, educate our clients on what's going on in the space too. So, starting off, it's, having our own POVs and testing a number of tools on our side, across the different, teams that we, have at our agency. So, I'm AB Media, but we have SEO, we have, social media, we have creative, we have web dev. So really, everybody on our side, there's, a task force of getting a better understanding of what tools are out there, what problems do we have that we can solve for. And like 99% of the time, a lot of those same problems or challenges that clients are encountering and facing. So we definitely try to, share the knowledge and share the results of our testing with our clients. But we also have clients who are coming to us and getting really, really excited about what the latest AI tool is, because it's cool and it's fun. But at the same time, like, managing that expectation around, like, is it actually going to benefit the client to use it at this time, or are they even able to use it? But what I'll say is, the engagement comes from, being able to use AI tools to provide more personalized recommendations to our clients, whether it's, for their marketing efforts or, just with our internal conversations, we've been able to provide our customers with more responsive and tailored experiences using AI. Ultimately, the goal is to help our clients have that increased, customer satisfaction and loyalty. And it's also enabled us to create more dynamic and interactive content that, really does push forward our AI, push forward ROI and various other key metrics that are important to clients. So, to distill it down, it's, make sure you're educating your clients about what's going on in the world of AI. It's very important. I think everybody's excited about it, but, always approach it with a little bit of caution, because again, this whole field is evolving very much. To Daniel's point, we're in the honeymoon phase. So, I think the key is, like, let's not lose track of the basics. We still have to consistently deliver valuable and engaging experiences with our clients as well as our clients' customers. So I think that's the key there, right? To be able to strengthen our clients' relationships with us and with their customers to drive those better business outcomes, regardless of AI.
Yeah, those are great insights, and it's so true, right? I mean, everyone's so excited about AI, and I'm sure you have clients running to you with their ideas and how they think AI should be used, and it's important to remind them, especially experts, and rein them in a little bit. So, I could sit here and talk to you both all day about this, but unfortunately, that's all the time I have for my questions. So, thank you both for letting me pick your brains, and I've learned a ton just from sitting with you two right now. But don't go anywhere, because we're going to open it up to questions at the end. But before we do that, I'd like to welcome one more guest speaker. So please welcome Kellen Mace, who is here to talk about AI-powered search for WordPress. So we'll wait for Kellen to join here. Kellen, are you out there? There he is.
I'm on. Yep.
Welcome
Yeah,
to the party, Kellen.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Yeah, if you want to give me screen share control, and I will dive right in.
There you go. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, great. So yeah, first off, again, welcome everybody. Like, really thrilled to have you all here. I have a history myself in the WordPress agency space. It's near and dear to my heart. So happy to show off some pretty cool features that we're excited about at WP Engine here. So for my portion of the event here, as the slide says, I'll show off our AI-powered hybrid search solution. So I don't want to oversell this too much, but your mind might be blown. It stands to be seen, or remains to be seen. So let's dive in, see if we can hit that high bar. So why search, right? If you're all of you are in the agency world, you don't really need convincing, right? But I'll just state this anyway, just as a reminder to you all and to myself, like, why search is so critical. Number one, search is a hard problem. So those who solve it earn the right to charge for it, right? If you put in the effort to, like, really nail down search and deliver to end users exactly what they're looking for, it's just better everything, better user experience, better conversions, and so on. Which leads to number two. That's why search is critical for website owners to get right. A couple stats here just to drive that point home. So you can see on this slide, it says many retailers find it difficult to understand user intent, right? What a user meant by a certain keyword they're searching for. They also find it difficult to personalize and surface the right products and content to shoppers. A few negative results kind of precipitate from those things. So those are listed at the bottom here. So $2 trillion lost each year from search abandonment globally. 78% of consumers view a brand differently after experiencing search difficulties, right? After experiencing some of that friction. And the last one, 82% of consumers avoid websites where they've experienced search difficulties in the past. So all compelling reasons to really nail search or do the best we can in effort to do so. So next we'll talk about what default WordPress search gives you and where it might fall short. So the flow the user goes through typically looks like this, right? So let's say the agency has run ad campaigns, leverage their email list, done SEO, everything they can to get these leads to their site, right? That's kind of the blue step here, and they've nailed it. That user has made it all the way through to their site, right? And now by performing a search, this user is literally telling us this is the exact thing that I want, right? Just by the act of searching for it. It leads to the purple one here, oftentimes, right? Through a typo or synonym use, the results are irrelevant or empty, right? The next kind of teal step here, the user leaves, the brand, site brand is harmed, potentially permanently due to this poor experience. And then the last one here, the yellow crucial piece, is the site owner has zero awareness of the reason this user bounced, what they searched for, what their intent really was. So how do they then rectify this problem to make sure it doesn't happen to other users in the future? So this is really where WP Engine Smart Search comes in, and in particular our new AI-powered hybrid search features. It aims to solve issues like this. These aren't minor problems either. Just to drive it home, one last time here. Users that search are 2 times more likely to convert or to stay engaged. Half of them are typing with thumbs, right? These days in a mobile first world, many of us, as you all know, it's users are typing with 2 thumbs on the mobile devices. It's so easy to make typos, right? And last one, these visitors are having a terrible time. 20% of people who use search then went on to refine their searches. That means that they weren't pleased with the first set of results and had to try again, right? So the question is, really, at that point, it comes down to how far can we push this person? How far can we test their patience, really, until they're like, I can't find anything on the site, I'm out, right? And they bounce. That's what we want to avoid. So with default WordPress search, perhaps you or many of your clients rely on that right now. It has some shortcomings, right? First, it doesn't tolerate any misspellings at all. It has to be, exact. The keyword has to match the full text of the post title or content. Really, no custom data outside of that by default is indexed. So that includes like ACF, advanced custom fields data, or custom post type data. None of that is indexed, right? You would have to write custom code to try to add that to WordPress, but then in doing so, now you made your searches more expensive, right? So that kind of comes at a cost. Default WordPress search has no support for arbitrary data. So if one of your clients comes to you and says, I want users to be able to search for the content on my WordPress site, but also pull in matching results from Shopify or from our YouTube channel, matching videos or whatever it may be, right? No support for that. You'd have to write all kinds of custom code to try to shoehorn that into the search results that people are seeing. As I mentioned a moment ago, worse performance as the site grows. So if you accommodate all of these needs, you say, all right, we're going to give you the search you're looking for. We're going to write a mountain of custom code and try to get WordPress data and Shopify data and your YouTube video. All of that's going to show up. We're going to hit all these APIs. Ouch! Now performance takes a hit. Not to mention, just as the site grows, right? If the site has hundreds of thousands of posts, default WordPress search is just going to struggle with that, even if you don't have the arbitrary other sources of data as well. So lots of shortcomings. And the last one I have for you is no support for semantic search, right? If somebody in the UK searches, if they're looking for shoes, and somebody in the UK searches for trainers, and somebody in New York searches for sneakers, somebody from the Midwest in the US searches for tennis shoes, right? These people or several of them at least may be searching for the same exact word, but unless that exact phrase, the keyword that they typed in, matches when the full text search is performed, matches terms in your WordPress database, they might get nothing back, even though they're really referring to the same thing, right? Ideally, we'd be able to infer the user's intent and figure out what they need and then deliver them the right thing, no matter what they had typed. right? So that's where we're headed next here. So WPN Smart Search to the rescue. So that list I just went through, no misspellings, only searches, title, and content, all of the stuff you see on the left here, the arrows lead to the solution to that, right? So Smart Search really comes to the rescue. It provides fuzzy search. All those misspelling issues go away, right? We can still resolve that and correct, return the correct responses. We have custom data indexed by default. If you add a custom post type, add a field group with AC after that, it's already searchable. It's already in the index. You can already get high performance search from that with zero custom work on your part. Arbitrary data, it's already supported. There's an easy API just to add in the Shopify data I mentioned, the YouTube data, any third-party data you want to include without taking additional performance hit, supported out of the box with Smart Search. The item about worse performance as the site grows, it's scalable. Luke, our product manager, was just telling me yesterday that we have a client at WP Engine that has, I believe it was like somewhere in the 200,000 posts range on their WordPress site. They're a Smart Search customer, and they're seeing 5 millisecond responses from our optimized NoSQL database that's used on the back end to serve up these search results. So it's built for that purpose to be scalable. And then the last one we have the semantic search. Remember my example about the trainers versus sneakers versus tennis shoes? All of that goes away with our AI-powered hybrid search feature, right? It infers the intent or the meaning of the search query, and then finds the right results, right? No matter what the person had typed. All right, so with all that out of the way, I want to go through 3 demos. Talk is cheap, right? Let's see this thing in action. So I have 3 for you here. Time permits. First one is basic search. So I'll show you how to install them and then sync your data with the plugin. We'll see how we can use ACF and custom post type data, fuzzy search, weighting the different results. We'll go to the front end and see some of our custom post types included in the results, and then a few advanced operators. Demo 2 will be the AI-powered hybrid search. So that's the one in the example for trainers versus tennis shoes versus sneakers, whatever else, inferring the user's intent and then returning the results. That's really the mind-blowing one, right? That will show off in demo 2. And then demo 3 is the user portal analytics. This one is huge for knowing exactly what people are searching for on the site, and then going even deeper, knowing what are people searching for and that they're getting a 404, no results for. How can I correct that so that they're finding everything that they're looking for all the time on my site or on my client's site? It's a pretty huge deal here. So with that, let's dive into the first one I mentioned. So demo number 1. Let's see if we can check out the basic search functionality here. All right, so for this, we'll use our fun demo site we built here, Swift Search, right? So this is a WordPress site. It's been loaded up with all kinds of data about Taylor Swift albums, and then in songs as well. You can search by song name, album name, lyrics within the songs, release date, all kinds of stuff here. Before I perform a search though, let's head over to the WordPress backend, and I'll kind of show you what this would look like for yourself or your client if you were to set this up. So after installing and activating the plugin, you can head over to the settings page here, right? Just paste in your particular URL and an access token you were given, right? So you save that, then you're up and running and can configure this plugin and sync it for the first time. All right. So I'll head over to the search config page here. So you have this option between stemming, which refers to like the word run or running or runs, would all be different versions of the same root word, right? So you can optimize for stemming, or really for fuzziness, which I think is what most clients appreciate most. And then the fuzzy distance, like how far off, how far off was the user from the word that they meant? Did they really mash the keyboard, or they're somewhat close? You have some control there. And then the models listed here control what is searchable, and you can even include weights for these, which is huge. So you can say that I want people to be able to search albums on my WordPress site, For each of these, post title, post name, for example, I'm going to toggle these on. So those are searchable. And then you can even individually dial in weights for these, right? So somebody searching for a song by its title would probably be the most important thing. Even if that keyword happened to match one of the lines in the lyrics, for example, probably the title is viewed as the most important thing, right? So you might weight that more heavily. Something else, may weight a little lower, for example. You can adjust these at any point to really dial in exactly what results in the best search results for your site. So if you take your time to do this, as we have here for album and then for songs, right? Set up a few and with weights here. You can then save that configuration, and then there's just a one-time sync, and that's it. Then you're up and running, right? So you just click this button to index now. I won't do this right now, just so we can keep the demo rolling. We won't have to pause for a moment. But what this button basically does is kicks off a background process where all the data you told Smart Search to pay attention to index, it is then fired off to this high performance database that meant for scalable searches, right? But as soon as that one-time indexing is done, then you're good to go. So with that, let's see if we can demo this. So I'm not the most fervent Swiftie in the world, but let's see if we can find a few things. So I know Folklore is one of her albums, right? So you can search for that, right, and get back what we would expect for the album, right? That's not very impressive because I spelled it right. What if we do spell something incorrectly, as a user might, right? So I'll do wildest dreams with a Z, right? This is a misspelling. The native WordPress search would just choke on this. This would 404, no results. If I search for this, no problem, right? Wildest dreams pops right up. It's very forgiving of this with the fuzzy search functionality that we have. You can also do compound search. So let's say it matches two things. So if the user were to search foolish, which might search, might match a few songs or albums, but then they also type Wonderland, which might match other songs or albums, right? If you search for those, you both of them back. Here's Wonderland because that searched part of your query, a fragment of your query, and then here's Foolish because that matched another part of it, right? You can see here we're doing everything in our power to get the person the result that they might have meant, by this search query here. So let's see, we saw fuzziness, we saw compound search, a few some of that fanciness. Let's see if we can add some custom data. So this will be a fun part. So advanced custom fields, of course, we're huge fans of it over here at WP Engine. And if you don't know, it's recently added support for custom post types as well. So along with albums and songs, I can quickly click add. And let's say we want to add a new custom post type. So I'll do project, and leave these other settings alone, save changes. Let's see. Oh yeah, I had registered this before the demo. Yeah, sorry about that. Projects exist there. So let's see. I want to show you how real-time this can be. So let's say on this site, we've added a new post type that didn't exist prior, projects, right? And this is going to be, we'll say Q2 planning. I don't know. Q2 planning summit or something is a new project on this particular WordPress site, right? This data is synced to our high performance search database in real time. So now that I've published this post, that data has now been synced already. So I should be able to head to the front end and search for it already. And let's see if it comes up now before syncing. Yep, it does. You can see without ever heading back to the search page to hit that sync button, our search results are already popping up here. Of course, I'm missing an image here, right? Since it's not an album, this is a new data type that hadn't existed before. So on a production site, you probably want to style this differently, right? But you can see the point I'm making here of the data coming through already. I'm going to pause for a sec just to check the chat. Lexi, I want to make sure I'm doing okay on time here. Let me know if I'm not. I got the chat open on the side.
Hey, Kellen, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I'll see how much damage we can do. So basic search, we made it through. You've seen all of that. Let's get to the good stuff here. AI-powered hybrid search. So there's one page where you can configure and sync this, and then go ahead and run semantic searches. So let's see if we can show that off in time. Let's see. My network's going a little slow at the moment. Sorry. Come on. All right. I think my my local connection is a little slow here. Sorry about that. But for this last one, which is arguably the the fanciest, most demoable, most impressive part of the presentation is located here. AI-powered hybrid search, right? So you can dial this in however you want. This is in beta right now. This is how it exists in its current iteration. So there's a search bias here where you can say, I only want full text search. For some sites, this might be appropriate, right? If you had like user manuals, you wanted the person to be able to search for exactly the right model number. You wanted, no wiggle room, basically. Full text search might make sense. Otherwise, you can go only semantic search, meaning we're going to trust AI completely with what it comes back with, what it thinks is the right results. For some sites, that might not be ideal either, right? We've all encountered AI like hallucinating, right, and returning results sometimes that aren't ideal, right? So best practice has shown typically that a mix of both is actually the best, right? So the person searches based on the actual text versus we're going to infer what they meant. Let's just do both of those and show the best of both worlds by doing a mix of both. And then on our settings page, you can also tell it which fields to include. So right now you can see I've done songinfo.lyrics. So this has indexed all the lyrics in Taylor Swift songs. In the future, I believe that the team plans to add support for additional fields, but for the beta right now, you choose the one field you want to index on, and that's the one that it uses. So to show this off, let me head back to my front end search here. Let's see what we can do. Let's see. So Taylor Swift has a few songs that are, got nothing in my brain, I think is one lyric, for example, right? Let's say somebody instead of nothing typed nothing instead of brain, they typed mind, right? Got nothing in my mind, right? Then maybe they're like in the ballpark, kind of got it wrong, right? Search for this. We fire off that search. Sure enough, still results come up. The one I was thinking of is listed here, shake it off, right? With that particular line item. Relationship struggles, right? This is way far off from anything that the lyrics say, any literal strings that they say. However, we're going to infer the meaning here. We're going to say, I want to find Taylor Swift songs where the lyrics refer to relationship struggles. I'm going to fire off a search for that without a problem, right? The songs relevant to that particular search pop up. So it's hugely powerful, right? If you want access to this, I think Lexi can share a link to a form in the chat where you can sign up if you're interested in getting into the beta and like getting your hands on this and trying it out. You can do that or talk to your account manager as well, and they can set you up for the beta. We would love to get as many users trying this out as possible, and would really value your feedback. Last thing I have before we get out of here and I turn it over is demo 3 user portal analytics. This one will be very quick. I just wanted to show off how powerful it is just to capture this stuff. So imagine this on one of your clients' sites, right? They have users, they're driving traffic to the site, users are making all kinds of searches. And then in WP Engine, in the user portal, you navigate to that site. Then in the sidebar, head over to WP Engine Smart Search. If I click on that, that'll send me over to the Smart Search page. You can manage the add-on if you need to, but what we're most interested in is this section here, search rankings. So look how cool this is. Here's the search term, right, that people are searching for, and then total searches. So you can see, what most people are searching for on the site and getting results for. Those will be listed here. What's hugely helpful is the no result searches, right? Let's say we've done all of these backflips, like the fuzziness and weighting and support for compound searches and arbitrary the user's intent and giving them results via AI. If we're doing all that stuff and still getting a few, no result searches, they would show up right here. You would know, oh, okay, users are actively searching for this thing, and we're not serving that need. They're not finding what they're looking for. How can we, tweak some of those weighting settings or the other settings we saw in the config screens to make this a non-issue, so that even those people are, start to find the searches that they're looking for. So these kind of analytics are huge, right? You can see exactly how people are using search on the site, and then know what you need to change to optimize that experience for folks. All right, so that was it for me. That was the last demo. Before we turn it over, Lexi, tell me what's next if we're heading to the this slide here on the APP, or when questions come. But that's it for me. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kellen.
I hope
Thanks
I
for
wasn't too
joining.
far over on the time.
No, you're good, Kellen. Thanks for the demo. It's so cool to see how we're innovating in AI and seeing it in action. So, look, as you all know, our agency partners are incredibly important to us, which is exactly why we have events like these. We succeed when our agency partners succeed. And this mantra is top of mind for us as we're building our product roadmap and thinking of tools and products we can deliver to benefit you, our agency partners. So when we show off new stuff like this, like AI search, it's specifically because we want your feedback, and even more so, for you to test it out and try it and make sure we are solving real problems for you. So please, I encourage you to sign up for the beta of AI Smart Search. There should be a link in the chat, or you can talk to your account manager if you're interested. And just as a teaser, AI Smart Search will be released to the general public this summer. So we do have a few minutes left. Thank you for joining back, Ina and Daniel. We might have time for a couple questions here, so I'm going to roll right in. The first one I have for you, which has been a popular question you've been getting, is we have all these free tools of AI available, and everyone's been playing with them and using them in their day-to-days. But what investments have you made thus far in AI, meaning beyond the free versions of these AI tools? And Ina, we'll go to you first.
Sure. So for productivity and just more broad use cases, I'd say like Fathom Video, ChatGPT, Claude AI. And then there's a lot of platforms now that just have inherently like built-in tools that serve a lot of purposes, like the publishers like Google, Meta, really pushing more AI tool usage. From the creative side, like definitely Photoshop has been a pretty big one. And I think there's a couple of others, but it could probably like shoot out a list in the interest of time to the chat.
Great, thank you. Daniel?
So yeah, to reflect the same, definitely ChatGPT. On the image side, though, there's a lot more that I've been using. So Midjourney, despite having Stable Diffusion locally, which is software you can install and is free, I also pay for Midjourney because it has its own kind of proprietary model. Pika and Runway ML for video generation in particular. And then, which is not mentioned a lot, hardware, because having a powerful consumer video card lets you do the local generations of images with Stable Diffusion, as well as the need for more cloud storage and physical storage. So there's hardware requirements too, if you really want to get into it.
Great, thank you. And speed round, one more question, just related to cost and pricing. Do you have any pricing recommendations on how to price AI-enabled solutions for the agencies here? And if you do, or how are you, or are you disclosing that you're using AI to your clients?
Oh, this one's a good one. Because I think it depends on the use case. I saw this question come up, and I think this follow-up there was, do clients think that you're, not spending as much time on them because you're using AI, which is, a consideration some might have. I would say a lot of agencies from pricing, do like a technology fee that's sort of, a flat fee that's, inclusive of all of the tools. So it covers off on that. We're very transparent, if we're using something or if we're testing something, that's something that our clients are going to know about because they're probably going to be excited about it. But I think like that question around whether, like we're doing less work, I would definitely position it in a way where, there's a lot of tedious work that requires a lot of time from people. And I think our clients would prefer that, we spend more of our time and free up some of that time on some of that more tedious work, actually focusing in on strategies, tactics, and, conversations with the client that'll help grow their business. I think the agency side are always quite busy. There's always a lot going on. So, anything we can do to shift the conversation and strategies to focusing in on, growth and, efficiency is a huge boon for our client. So where we may be spending less time on some of those more tedious tasks, like maybe note taking or, sending some of those like emails, it creates a lot more time for us to just work with our clients and service them at a higher level.
Great, thank you. And Daniel?
And when I'm usually working with their hard deliverables, so like a design, a WordPress installation, and if we have AI incorporated into that, I think we absolutely have to disclose it, only because right now the question of rights is a big question mark. Generations that come right out of model without any alteration don't hold a copyright according to the Copyright Office. So unless we invest human effort into changing it, then there's a question for the client or for the agency as to how they're going to transfer the rights. I think that will change in the future as these tools become way more integrated and we have legal cases that answer some of these questions. But it's a gray area because we're seeing, like we said before, Photoshop incorporating generations into its basic software. So if you're using that to say extend an image's background, does that count as the whole image now being AI generated? And these are questions that are difficult to answer. So I think the best approach is to absolutely disclose. And then to answer the other half of that question, will that impact how you price things? Absolutely. Like, I don't think you can get away with charging the same thing, for the same output when you can generate far more. And so I don't think our clients are dumb. I think they're going to understand that. So we have to then figure out, okay, well, where are we going to move that budget? And what else can we do instead? And, if we can save time, great. That means we can do other things that enhance the value we're adding. So we have to really be specific about what value we're adding as an agency. It doesn't matter to the client, how we're doing the grunt work. It matters the outcome. And so if we're transparent about the tools we're using and showing them where we can add value instead of in this boring space that they didn't care about before, then I think they'll be on board with the use of the tools.
Amazing. Well, thank you. We're out of time here, Ina and Daniel. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for joining today and sharing your knowledge and your experiences. Your insights have been invaluable, and I really appreciate you taking the time. So for our agency partners out there, please be on the lookout for more opportunities to test and try out our new AI products as we expand the offerings in this space. There are more alphas and betas on the way, so please talk to your account manager to make sure you're in the know about each of them. If you aren't part of the agency partner program already, I highly recommend registering because we offer a ton of benefits to our agencies. We offer different tiers of benefits. So if you're already a member, please make sure you're taking full advantage of the different tiers and benefits within your tier. So thank you all for joining today. On behalf of WP Engine, my name is Andrew Gillians, and I look forward to seeing you all at our next event or webinar. So long.